Hi, my name's Jacob Hirschman,
And I am Derek Sullivan.
and today we will be talking about the Flint, Michigan water crisis and how fear plays a role as long as a few other select things that go along with that topic.
How it all started. In April of 2014, Flint changed its water source from the Detroit River and Lake Huron to the Flint River in order to save money. The Flint River has been suffering from corrosion, leading to the water being contaminated. The pipes, which fed water to drinking faucets, bathtubs, and more, were feeding lead-contaminated water into homes and buildings throughout Flint, causing first a local, then national outroar. This all led to Flint being called in a state of emergency by Michigan Governor Rick Snyder at the beginning of 2016. Since then, countless organizations, groups, and individuals have donated clean water to the city, as the city itself, as well as the state of Michigan, has taken steps to fix the problem that it has caused.
So the public response is next. As we said, many people stepped up to help. Renowned filmmaker and Flint native Michael Moore appeared on multiple TV shows as shown in this picture, specifically on Channel 7 in Detroit. And he advocated for his hometown, talked about how great of a city Flint is, and how he wanted to step up, donate, and make things better. Also, the local NBA franchise, the Detroit Pistons, donated $500,000, $500,000 to help with the Flint water crisis, as long as sending players to deliver water bottles. And the Detroit Lions also did something very similar. Plenty of others have reached out to help them as well, including famous people and citizens alike, to try to make this city bounce back after such a devastating crisis.
Naturally, with these being such a big issue, news outlets across the country picked up this story. From local television stations like WXKYZ Detroit and WDIV Detroit to national stations like CNN, this story was covered everywhere you can imagine. But not just on TV, in print as well, as the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post had stories, as well as less renowned media outlets such as Vox Media and Wired. All of these outlets covered the Flint water crisis as best they could, clearly showing remorse for the people affected. But the way that many news outlets covered it revolved around a certain subject. The emotion of fear was alive and present in newscasts and articles across the nation. Warnings about this could happen to your city, and overshooting just how badly the Flint situation was. While the city was in turmoil, the media capitalized on this subject as much as they could, just as they would do with nearly any disastrous situation.
And as you can see here, these two photos show just the kind of emotions that are being shown in TV coverage. In Channel 7's screen cap up here, you see Flint's mayor, Karen Weaver, being shown next to Governor Rick Snyder, both with obvious concern on their face about how big of an issue this is. And Time magazine, one of the biggest magazines in the entire United States and world, shows the picture of a child who is sick because of the Flint water crisis, clearly using the emotion of fear and remorse and empathy to try to get people to buy the magazine and read their story. So going more specifically on the use of fear, as you can see from these pictures taken from articles written at the Washington Post, fear and emotion are used to draw the readers in. From a little girl crying because she is afraid to get her blood drawn, to an elderly woman afraid about what is going to happen, the crisis struck fear into residents, and the media has capitalized on that. But this is not something new to the media landscape. As DuPont and Blue point out in their article, Telestrator Terrorism, Fear Messages in the Television News Coverage of Hurricane Ivan, in the case of Hurricane Ivan specifically, media outlets covered the storm as if it were going to directly hit New Orleans, which in reality wasn't the case. The city of New Orleans was never actually in that much of danger, as Hurricane Ivan was slated to actually go past and bypass the city. But bringing out the fear factor, the news outlets bringing out the news factor more specifically, had more people tune in and read the articles because they were afraid of what could happen, so they wanted to watch the news and read the news so that they could be more prepared. Similarly, in Preston and Nabby's article, Unrealistic Hope and Unnecessary Fear, examining the effects of emotional health news coverage on risk, perception, and intention, it talks about how news coverage can scare people into thinking that they are in more danger than they actually are. Many articles and news stations have used this to their advantage, writing articles about how Cleveland or Columbus or any big city is the next big city to have a water crisis, when in all reality, no major city is close to the type of emergency that Flint was and currently is in because of what the state of Michigan and the city of Flint did and how they handle the situation. Yet, the news that you watch on TV will use fear to get people to tune in because since the Flint water crisis is such a big deal right now, they will try to draw viewers in and draw readers in by using a topical, fearful topic to draw more people into their specific media viewing. And while it may seem crazy that people watch TV just because of a fear, it's proven through studies. A study done by Hoffner, Fuyoka, and Ibrahim in an article titled Why We Watch, Factors Affecting Exposure to Tragic Television News. The three of them studied over 300 college students who cited fear along with emotions just like empathy that are used heavily in the Flint crisis as a reason why they watch and read the news. Fear and empathy especially stand out because when people are afraid of what can happen, the news is the first place they can go to find out what's going on. And same thing goes with empathy. You know, when you feel for people, you want to know what's going on, how you can help, how you can make it better. Fear makes people do stuff they wouldn't usually do. And if someone isn't usually watching the news, if there's a crisis, if there's a fear of something that could happen in their lives, the news is the best place to go, and that draws more viewers in.
While it's a good thing that the Flint water crisis is getting the coverage that it is, there are some problems with the coverage. Aside from the media taking advantage of the fear factor, specifically when it comes to how much the water in the city is contaminated. For example, Vox Media Group reported that 40% of homes had elevated levels of lead contamination in their water supply. Yet, Wired.com reported that it was at least 15% of homes that had lead levels over the federal limit. While at least 15% is an approximation, that number is nowhere near 40%, leaving one to wonder what the actual number is. The Washington Post, while not using percentages, used the same study by Virginia Tech that the Vox Media Group used, which gives credence to that study being used by two reputable sources, yet the discrepancies still stand out. Obviously, the levels have gotten lower as time has gone on, but at the beginning of the reporting, the levels weren't universally agreed upon, which did allow the media to exaggerate at times and use that fear that we talked about before.
In conclusion, the Flint water crisis is obviously a real crisis. There are plenty of people in turmoil, and as you can see from these pictures, Flint isn't necessarily the biggest, most upbeat, bright city in the entire world. It's a little beaten down, actually voted one of the most violent cities in the entire United States, even more than Detroit, Michigan, if you can believe that. It's the most violent city in Michigan. But that doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to have the water supply that every other good city in America does. So in April 2014, when this all started, it was actually under wraps for a while, yet it got picked up by media, and the media actually helped the exposure get out there, let people see that Flint needed help, which is a good thing the media did. But not everything the media did was good. As we talked about, the media used fear as a tool to get more people to tune in to the news. They showed children hurting, showed children crying, showed children afraid of what's going to happen, showed that children may die because of what is happening to the Flint water crisis. They showed families being hurt, being broken up because people had to go in the hospitals. They showed elderly people not knowing if they were going to be able to handle it because their bodies aren't as strong as they once were. The media overall did do good things, but using fear is not one of those things. Every media does it, from Vox Media Group to and Wired, the lower level media groups on the web, to the likes of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. All use fear to draw in viewers. And because of that, the media needs to learn that fear is not the best way to go about to get viewers, because they need to report the actual facts, which again we weren't positive about and still are not positive about because of the discrepancies of just how much of the water was contaminated. Overstating it puts people in danger because it gives them false information. And makes them fear more than they may need to. And because of that, the media needs to work towards a better solution to how to get the right information across while still informing the people. Thank you again. My name is Jacob Hirschman.
And my name's Derek Sullivan.
And this was our presentation on the Flint Water Crisis and how the media uses fear to draw people into watching the media. Here are a list of our sources. Thank you.